Hey everyone, it's Tyler Fire Sabers. It's finally here, guys. Xeno3, available in baselit and pixel. So let's get into it. Alright, so here we go. We have the baselit and the pixel versions. Now it's actually the exact same board, just wired up differently between the two. You'll notice that the pixel is actually in the master core. Gives you about an inch less there. So this is about 7.5 inches, this is 6.5 long. So you get that extra blade depth on that, which is nice. On the baselit version, they need the bigger heat sink in there, so they don't have the room to make it shorter. Alright, so starting with the pixel version, I just want to show you some of the new stuff on this. So it still has the illuminated PCB here, so when you turn it on, you'll see that those are lit up a little bit. Not enough to light up a blade, however, a blade plug looks really cool with that. Okay, it also has the new white LED button. That is only available for the Type-C. We've got a new SD card tray. This one's a little more tricky, but it does hold the SD card in better, so you have less chance of it popping out. Real quick, I'll show you how to deal with this. So you're going to push the holder inward, and it should lift up. Then you can just drop that out. When you go to put it back in, you'll notice there's a little notch on the right hand side there. That will sit right down into it. Then you close the door real carefully and pull it down towards the speaker. That'll lock it back into place. We got a newer speaker in there, and we're still using the same 18650 battery from the previous version. First thing I want to show you guys on this is that the SD card is actually not needed. So you're most likely going to want it, but you don't have to have it, because for both the baselit and the pixel versions, there are 16 fonts that are pre-built in. So we went ahead and made the price a little bit cheaper on this in case you don't want an SD card, or you can add the SD card to it. And you get 16 fonts on it. With the SD card, that brings you up to 34 fonts. So there's an extra 18 fonts on there. Plus, with the SD card, you have the ability to add your own. The first 16 that are already on the board, you can overwrite with your own fonts, and it will replace them. If you don't do that, it'll be the same 16 that are on without the SD card. So one thing to note about the SD card is that you cannot just use the XenoPixel V2 SD card, because they actually updated all the fonts to allow accent swings now. Also, the config is entirely different for this. Within the config, you can adjust a lot more stuff, as well as either make it baselit or pixel. Also, they have added more features to this. However, they're not all enabled. So there's certain blade modes like Ghost Blade or Blaster Blade that some people just really don't want. So now you can actually go into the config on your computer and you can turn those off entirely, to the point where when you try to scroll through your effects on here, they don't even show up, which is really nice. Now, there is going to be an app for adjusting certain settings in the config. It's in beta stages right now. I've played around with it. It is really cool. Once that's released, I'll go ahead and I'll update the info page for the Xeno3, and that'll include all the appropriate ways to download that. Okay, so with the pixel version of the Xeno3, there has not been a whole lot added from the Xeno2, mainly just the accent swings is the big difference, and then the incoming app. They were trying to add accent swings to the Xeno2, but the hardware just wasn't quite good enough for it, so they updated the hardware and then added some new features to justify the change. Really, the big change here is that now it also powers baselit, which I'm pretty excited about myself. So real quick, I'm going to show you guys some of the features on this. So, same thing, press and hold the button. It'll wake it up. I'm going to hold it down for one flash, then release, changes the volume. You've got high, low, mute. 2 flashes is going to change your blade type. Unstable. So like there's a flicker effect. 2 flashes. Rainbow blade. I really like the rainbow effect on this. Press and hold, 2 flashes and release. 1, 2. Candy blade. Broken ignition. So 3 flashes will give you different ignition types.
blade.
So 1, 2, 3.
Broken ignition.
And that's the same. Xeno3 had that same thing. I will show you guys real quick the swing sound. So. It sounds pretty good. So next up we've got our baselet, which is essentially the same functions. Of course you're not going to have the really cool blade effects, but it does have a few. Another thing that you can add in on the config is actually for, sometimes you might have like a control box on it, or you otherwise just can't see the button. If you go into the config, you can actually set it to do this.
The Dark Sword.
So it will
The
beep
Assassin.
as it flashes, which is really helpful when you can't see the button. So go ahead and
Mute. Volume high. Volume low.
set this to volume low so I don't blow your ears out. So I'll show you real quick.
Steady.
2 flashes. Changes that. You do have gesture controls, which can be changed in the config as well, depending on what you like, what you don't like.
Unstable. Pulse. Steady. Blaster mode. Standard mode.
So that's the only one that I have enabled right now through the config. It's just the blaster mode. For baselet, it doesn't really make sense to have a lot of the other stuff enabled. So if you do 4 flashes,
Clash off.
you can disable your clash.
Mute.
Go ahead and mute it real quick. So you can disable your flash on clash so that when you're spinning around or dueling, you don't get any flash on clash at all.
Volume high. Volume low. Standard mode. Clash on. Motion control off.
So when you do 5, that turns your motion control on and off.
Motion control on. New Horizon.
And 6 flashes will go to the next font. You can go to the next font through the button. You can go to the previous font by turning the saber upside down.
The Dark Sword.
And giving it a little twist to the left. That's more or less it, guys. They're going to be adding more stuff to it, obviously, as it comes out. The accent swings and the baselet ability are really the things that we're focused on for right now. But there's going to be more features, and now that it's going to be way easier to keep everyone up to date with all the new firmware and stuff via the app once that's like officially ready to go. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. I will link some stuff down below, and we'll see you out there.